Hello one, hello all. It's the gothiest ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh, and it's time for a review. Yes, I know, review, finally. Things have been going on in my personal life. I just uploaded the projects of the year, so I hope you enjoy that. But now we could finally get into new projects that I could review. And it's time for a review of Ethel Cain, Perverts EP. Sean, do you have something to add to this? Ethel Cain, that is her name. If you're hating on this, then you are just lame. Thank you, Sean. Yes, this is the brand new EP of Southern singer-songwriter Ethel Cain under the pseudonym of Hayden Silas Hadonia, I hope I'm saying that right, whose full-length LP I found to be a harrowing experience lyrically and topically, but sonically kind of left me underwhelmed. I found a lot of the sound palette to be undercooked. I found to be mild, not as much bite to it, not as much of anything really to complement what Ethel was putting out here lyrically, or what she was going for, in my opinion, because she was diving deep into the life of a tragic teenage girl who was raised with a Southern Baptist family, enduring a lot of harrowing experiences such as abuse, the tumultuous experiences of being indoctrinated into religion. So yes, she could have gone a lot darker on that, but on here, she has gone way darker than she ever has, in my opinion. And similar to the cover art here, like, you see this woman sitting down, her head down, and it's just so grainy, it's so dark, it's so foreboding. Like, if like I was to tap her on the shoulder, like her eyes would just like turn red and she would just attack me at any moment. But I could honestly say too that the opener here really does complement the cover art as well, because you see this woman sitting in the chair and I could just hear the record playing this very beat to hell, distorted, ominous recording of what sounds to be like hymns, and I'm not exactly sure if it's her singing this. If it is, it's nothing short of genius. It could be a sample, but man, even though it's supposed to pass itself off as joyous, it just comes off so eerie. There's just something very creepy about this, very opening to a horror movie type vibe coming here. Like, it really sounds like something off of a Kristen Hayter record, off of her last record. And the song itself, like, that it leads into, sounds so heavy, so desolate, so cold. Like, the spacey, atmospheric feel of the rotation, of the revolving, catatonic state this leaves, like, the listener in, like, it just sounds something out of a fucking David Lynch film. Like, it's just a multifaceted, jarring experience. Like, I would say this is the musical equivalent of Eraserhead, which continues on to the following track that goes drearier, more ambient tones, like an ambient wall of drones that almost has like these haunting moans that I feel are supposed to mirror or simplify the pleasure that the protagonist is searching for. But man, like, the sonic spirals we hear here, like, as they're spiraling, there's like a scraping, dizzying sound here that gets more and more aggressive as the track progresses. And it gets more aggressive as the track continues. It's almost like the feeling of the music transpiring just delineates everything going on in Ethel's mind, or this woman's mind. And I feel like with the lyrics on this EP, they definitely need a lot of attention, because the vocals here are just so manipulated at times. Mostly the spoken word pieces, where in a deadpan cadence you hear Ethel saying, I love you, I love you, I love you. Like in a very pitched down, almost disguised voice. And the way each drone pans channel to channel, like really does sound like the equivalent of going insane. So yeah, this EP undeniably dives into very dark territory about the detriments of growing up in a religious family. This thing really does give the illustrations, maybe subtly, not exactly blatantly, but of abuse, having your innocence taken away. And sonically, it's incredibly spacious. And also there's a vast, unnerving feeling to this EP. And each song is laser focused on here, like there's really nothing on here lyrically or topically that I feel throws this album off in terms of a direction, in terms of focus. And I feel the darkness here really does describe, like, on its own, it's pretty self-evident how dark and twisted this thing goes. It really doesn't take a rocket scientist to understand that this thing is just diving into the depths and layers of the darkest corners of your mind. And each element here, I think, builds perfect tension. It's like the most scariest tension-building movie you've ever seen. It's like the equivalent of Danny from The Shining, basically, whenever he had like that Shining moment going on. It's like you're stuck and you're just frozen in fear and you can't do anything about it. As the protagonist delineates these feelings of wanting to feel pleasure, not wanting to be afraid, but also not wanting to suffer in the afterlife. So while wanting to make this escape, she is also simultaneously frightened of what's to come if she does, but simultaneously wanting to escape the harsh realities that she's living in. So basically, choosing whether to suffer on Earth continuously or suffer in the afterlife that she's been indoctrinated to believe in. And I feel like this creates a fantastic juxtaposition stylistically to her last full-length project, Preacher's Daughter, which I felt to be very bland sonically, as I mentioned before, but now she's like diving into field recordings. She is diving into drone, dark ambient, more slowcore, post-rock. Like she's going full darkness here, like super goth. Like you won't find any dream pop here at all. If you're looking for dream pop, you're in the wrong place because you're not going to get it here. You will, however, get ethereal wave, which does have the beauty of its own, kind of dreamy in a way, but simultaneously a little nightmarish, very dark and mystifying, very much like a Chelsea Wolfe record. Like there's a lot of elements here that do remind me of Chelsea Wolfe, but I feel that she really does put her own spin on it. So while you get these displays of abysmal drones, but also occasionally you get these displays of some beautiful ballads here, which delve into the ethereal wave or electric acoustic. And vocally, I feel she's come into her own more and more, especially with the spoken word passages. That definitely adds something unique, but also immensely disturbing. So I feel she's really honed in on her vocal capabilities, definitely more consistent, actually above and beyond lyrically and sonically as well. And honestly, I don't really think she's overdone it. I don't think she overdid it this time around. I think everything is pretty much has a place. I feel nothing's really tacked on. Everything really bolsters the narrative or the feeling that she's going for. Like the personality on here is on 10. And while this is a 9-track project, the runtime is huge. It's over an hour and a half. So while this is a 9-track album, it definitely doesn't feel that way with the duration of this EP, because a lot of these tracks run way over 5 minutes. The longest being PULLDRONE, along with their vocals, have a very fair quantity of effects, which again, I feel is not overdone. But I do feel like this EP may scare away Preacher's Daughter fans. Like if you were a fan of Preacher's Daughter for how safe it went and not like full scaring the bros, then you may not like this. I feel this could alienate previous listeners and bring in new listeners. Like, if you like singer-songwriter music that's not as risky, but lyrically dives dark, you're probably not going to love the overload of darkness here. Because if you like the mild lightness sonically, you're in the wrong place. Now, if you want something dark, heavy, something desolate, something terrifying, you're in the right place. And sure, you do get your reverb, but I feel the reverb is placed in a very detailed context. Like, there's a lot of crescendos here, there's a lot of distortions on those crescendos, on those chords, and they do come with a lot of variations as well. Like, if you listen closely, like on ONANIST, or the more bolder moments here. Like, this thing is mostly a cavernous abyss of an EP. And again, the dronier moments may scare away listeners. They may scare away listeners. But if you like that stuff, like if you're a Sun fan, a Chelsea Wolfe fan, I really don't see why you wouldn't enjoy this EP. And another thing too, this thing does not rely on the heavy non-melodic moments, the noisier moments. This thing also does carry melodies too, melodies that are beautifully but simultaneously just absolute horrifying and haunting. Like these ghostly, surreal vocal melodies with a lot of reverb, yes, but with a purpose, with some absolutely crushing additions that again remind me of Sun and Chelsea Wolfe. Lyrically diving into the yearning for love at points, or maybe this abusive illusion of love from another person, which we will get into. Like, there is also the feeling of immense depravity here, like not only for those around her, but also maybe herself, mostly due to the evangelical Baptist bullshit that's been peddled her way, like about the evils of outer sex, masturbation, self-pleasure. And as we read into this, it seems like she can't really get that love from anyone else, as she feels alienated, so she wants to give that love, that pleasure to herself. And there's moments here where we get these isolated piano keys with a lot of feedback on them and what sounds like wind blowing that are followed with these otherworldly reverb vocals that sound not only reverb, but very jittery. There's a lot of echo on them. It's like they're skittering at points. And soon after that, being smothered by a giant wall of crushing sound, crushing distorted guitar tones. It sounds like a beautiful apocalypse, but not in a cheesy way. And at the end here, the protagonist is saying, feels good, feels good, feels good, which greatly leads into PULLDRONE. Which, first time hearing this, I'm hearing these compartmentalized steps that she is going through, that she is executing. And upon listening to this, I was like, whoa, what is going on here? Because this sounds really troubling, but I feel like there's a genius going on here, like there's a beauty and darkness and genius going on here, where the steps are really for her to feel pleasure, but it's deeper than that, as she is going through the steps of accepting that she will not be accepted, that she has chose pleasure over suffering on earth, and feeling like this is the alienation of God, that this is no longer gonna be the place of feeling holy anymore or pure, and she's willing to throw that away. It's very dark, very troubling, and obviously not something that I prescribe to, but really does show the damaging effects of the abuse within religion that it comes with. So as you could read into this the first time thinking she's about to do something utterly drastic and terrifying, it really is symbolic of what she believes she is actually doing, the act she's actually committing. And also this EP does end really strong. I feel this does a very great balancing act of, again, traumatizing and also beauty at the same time, due to it being terrifying, hypnotic, and beautiful with vibrational drones. Tortured ghostly harmonies that are very claustrophobic, but I feel really adds to the unsettling nature of this project, that eventually leads into the set of roaring bassy guitars. And the tones have like these various harmonies that just swirl around. It's like being in a haunted cathedral, and as these triumphant droning guitars come in, it's like, I don't know, like even though this is so dark and so despondent, it almost feels uplifting, like there's something heroic going on here, like there's an elevation going on here, but simultaneously feels very ominous. And the closer gives us some hushed but beautiful vocals with immensely sad watery guitars just plunging into the track. And this EP does also dive into ambiguity, like it really does give you the illusion that there's a loving situation going on here if you're not really paying attention. Like there's just a cryptic nature to the lyricism here. So while there is love mentioned lyrically, there's definitely a undeniable sinister undertone to these tracks, like on VACILLATOR. And reading into the lyrics, this thing, while lyrically it is leading you into the impression that this is a loving person, this is a sensual person, a seductive person, this also does have a very abusive, manipulative tone to it, like something predatorial is going on here, like definitely something of abuse. So this EP definitely does show a lot of troubling scenarios, harrowing scenarios, like stories of abuse, addiction, death, religion, but all revolving around perversion. Whether it's the perspective of the narrator, how people see the narrator's view on other people. It's really much the perception angle here. And there are a few tracks I could have done without, like Punish. Like there are other tracks here that I did find repetitive, didn't really go much of anywhere, or a little too bland for me, but it's not a lot. And honestly, yeah, I found myself really satisfied with this EP. She's really took the darkness of her music, really took the color out of the soundscape and really used it to bolster the depressive narratives of this album. Like, it's not feel good, or EP. It's not feel good whatsoever. It's dark, it's brooding, it's tortured, it's desolate, it's cold, just how you'd like a goth project to be. But this time with ethereal wave, drone, and the darkest elements of music you could find. And I feel like she's applied this fantastically. And definitely branched out vocally too. So has really brought horror and goth to the forefront here. Not only lyrically, but sonically too. I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 black hearts on this EP. But if you've given this EP a listen, what did you think? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Why? And that's it. I am Caspa. I am your plug. Show me love. Hit me with a sub. Hit me with a comment, even if it's some nonsense. Caspa, Ethel, Cain. Till we meet again.